First item of business to adopt the meeting minutes from July 27th. Do I have a second? I motion that we adopt the minutes as written.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All opposed?
Is it the
We're done.
27th or 28th?
Was it?
I got the wrong agenda. So.
Well, July 27th,
Okay.
August 20th, and May 24th, apparently.
Yeah, I picked up the old agenda that had the June 28th.
First item of business, request of John Wilson for a variance to the sideline setback of 25 feet down to 6 feet for a camp rebuild. 36 Wilson Way. Where is this?
On Branch Lake.
Branch Lake, DEP been notified?
They don't have to be for sideline setbacks.
All other things about this application except the sideline are okay,
Yes,
from the city's perspective?
yes.
Do we have any neighbors complaining?
If you want to have Mr. Wilson speak, he's right here. on the
Well,
bottom.
has the city received any complaints from the neighbors?
I had one concern, but I didn't know exactly what it was, other than it was too close to the sidewalk.
Is that you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Wilson, are you here?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep, what we're gonna do is, just for the record, we have your, application that was received 8/5/21. I've read it. Your reasons for requesting a variance, building permits. It shows a camp, branch pond, is this within the setback requirements and all that stuff?
Well, yes, he's moving his camp from way down here by the water,
Yeah,
and he's moving it back. What
Okay.
he's encroaching on is that sideline setback, if you're looking at it on the right-hand side.
all right, and that's within 6 feet, and it's gonna be 25?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Wilson, if you'd like to explain why you need this setback and why you meet criteria, we'd be loving to hear it.
Sure. So, first of all, I want to thank you for the time. A little bit about me. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of your time, but my name is John Wilson. I was born in Bangor, grew up in Hamden. I spent a lot of my youth, I'll say it, in Branch Pond. My dad is John Edward Wilson. Wilson Way was named after him. And my mom is still alive, and she owns a camp at 58 Wilson Way. Married with 3 daughters and 1 granddaughter. We purchased the property from Donna Halloran in January 2020 with the intent of building a place where not only could my family go there now, but we'd eventually be able to retire up there. I have an approved septic plan from the state. I also have approved eco grant from the city of Ellsworth for install of a septic system. The approved location for the leach field is up near the roadway. I can show you on a map if you'd like to see it. I'm not sure if you guys have that or not, but I'm trying to figure out final camp plans, and I'm restricted by the lot characteristics in what I can do. And that's the reason for my appeal. I'm trying to build a 1,500 square foot camp with 2 bedrooms, which matches the approved septic plan. I've been in conversation. I got preliminary drawings from Viking Lumber for the camp.
Well, I'm gonna cut right to, let's cut right to the chase here.
Yeah.
Why can't, I got this map showing your lot, and you're 6 feet from the line as proposed. Why can't you
Yeah.
move it over to the middle of the lot and build your camp?
Can I show you on screen?
Yeah,
It may be one that you already have there.
because your leach field's way up towards the northern part of the thing. They got a new septic tank, that can be moved.
There is the frontage restriction pushes into wetlands. So there's the 75-foot setback from the lake. If I roll it away from the south side, which is where I'm looking for the variance, it pushes it more toward the east into what I'm going to call the wooded area, which has been determined by John Cullen with DEP to be wetlands. So, it's an economic hardship, as well as who knows if I'm even going to get the approval. I would have to go through a full, a wetlands permit to fill wetlands based on his determination.
Why can't you leave the existing camp where it is?
I can't.
Because it's not large enough to support my family or my intentions to retire up there because it's only like 400 square feet. What I'd like to do is go back away from the lake. You know, this camp, the current camp I'm going to show you here is about 10 feet off the lake.
Yeah, we see that.
You see that?
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if I can find another one here. So this is, can you see this?
Yeah, well,
Wait a minute, let me try again.
Something's trying to happen.
Okay, see this picture here? Can you
Yeah.
see that?
yeah, it's right by the lake.
Yeah, that's the front porch of the lake. It's basically 10 or 12 feet off the water, right?
Yeah.
And my limitations in that region is 1,000 square feet. The reason I selected to go back further is I can build 1,500 square feet versus 1,000 square feet, which is what I'm looking for an investment investment in that property.
Yeah,
Pay a
but
good sum of money, and I
listen,
wanna
listen,
get the
listen,
square feet.
it's all great you wanna build a camp. It's all great you wanna redo it. But you've got setback requirements. And you have to convince us of some pretty specific things. The need for the variance is due to the unique circumstance of the property and not the general conditions of the property. That the granting of a variance will not alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood. That the hardship is not the result of action taken by you. And that the land in question can't yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted. Here you have a camp that's presumably worth some money. It's right near the lake. It's not ideal. And you want to rebuild, and I get that. So how do you meet this other criteria? You know, normally if people are here and there's neighbors not complaining, we grant these. But you've got neighbors here complaining, and you're altering this property to be 6 feet from your line. So
I'm not aware of any complaints, sir.
why can't you move your property back into this space towards the north? Whatever north is, towards Wilson
Yeah,
Way.
well, I'm gonna try to show you that. I can't, and I'm not aware of any complaints.
Well, we got people here right now. You're gonna hear from them.
Okay?
Setback has to be 75 or 100?
75 from the water and 25 on each side.
It's 100 for,
And his lot is 100
beach?
feet by essentially 200.
Oh, okay.
It's 171 on one side. There's plenty of room to build here. It's just not the ideal conformity configuration you want.
Can you see this map? Can you see this map?
No, not yet.
no,
Let me try again. Can you see it now?
No?
Yeah. So I'm going to describe it to you. So there's a 75-foot lake setback requirement.
Right?
You can only build 1,000 square feet inside that 75-foot circle.
Right?
I have an unusual property, I'll say, shoreline that juts in and pushes me back further toward the east, which is the roadway, Wilson Way.
Okay.
So I went through my first layout and I had all the side setbacks. I had the lake shore setback. I had the roof setback, full understanding, and it pushed me into wetlands. I had a conversation with Ellsworth Code Enforcement. They were nice enough to lead me on to DEP John Cullen. John Cullen came down there and he says, that's wetlands. You're gonna have to go through a full permit. So the economical disadvantage is twofold. One, I don't even know if I could get a permit, but if so, I've got to go through that full regimen of hiring an environmental consultant to fill in there.
Or you can try to get a variance
because I
there and
need
take
that
your
square
neighbors.
foot.
Yeah,
So that's the unusual part about this lot is it's only 100-foot wide.
that's the way they are up there.
But this one is 100-foot wide, so you're limited because of side setback and where you can put it.
Can you tell me why the land cannot get a yield, cannot yield a reasonable return unless this variance is granted?
I need 1,500 square feet.
Why?
And I'm not certain that I'm gonna get anything from the DEP. It's not a guarantee. So I wanna show you another couple pictures.
No, I don't wanna see pictures. Listen, I want you to answer my questions, because this is the inquiry we gotta make. Why can't the land in question yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted? We understand what you want. Why can't it get why, this property is lakefront, it's got a camp on it. Why can't it get a yield, a reasonable return unless the variance is granted?
Because the reason is I need 1,500 square feet to get a return on this property.
Why?
Because it's the value of the property and the land, which is gonna prove to be the value of the combined site. 1,000 square foot property doesn't have the value of a 1,500 square foot property. You're limited in what people can do there, store materials.
Well, that's the problem with
You know,
lakefront
living
property.
space is restricted. So I have a family that's 3 daughters and a granddaughter, and I need the space. 1,000 square foot's not gonna do it.
I understand that, but if you
So
sold this,
there's the economics, it's just the value isn't there.
All
If
right.
I were to turn around, and who knows in this life what happens, if I turn around and sell it someday, the value is gonna be less if it's 1,000 square feet versus 1,500 square feet. So to appreciate the sunk dollars that I've already got in this property, which is 190,000 just for the property itself, I need the 1,500 square feet.
go ahead, Steve.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I would have built 1,000 square feet right on the water.
Go ahead, Steve.
I could do that right on 10 feet off the water.
Can you listen for a minute? Let us ask you questions and answer questions,
I have a
please.
question for Lori. I
Yes, sir.
assume this plan is all on one floor,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
and is this restriction in 1,000 square feet, could he put a 2-story building on? Is it footprint or is it total square footage?
Well, he could put a cellar and have living space in the cellar, that doesn't count. But the upstairs would count if he had 2 stories.
I cannot put 2 stories because of the 25-foot roof restriction. You have to be back 75 feet.
Well,
Otherwise-
with 2 stories, if he had 2 stories with a square footage in the combined 2 stories of more than 1,000 feet. would that
My
be-
You'd have to
first
be back
option, I looked at 2
To
stories,
do that. You'd have to
but because of the lake setback, it pushed
Can
me
you ask
back.
him to not interrupt?
Will you please just listen for a minute?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking me, I'm sorry.
I'm speaking to Lori.
Yep, he can have 1,000 square feet up to the 75. Once he gets past the 75, he can have an additional 500 square feet.
Now, when you say 1,000 square feet, is that total living space?
Total
or is
living
it
area.
footprint space?
Well, if it's gotta be 1 story, then it is footprint.
Right,
So, and he can do a cellar and have that not
but
count
he
against.
couldn't do a second story?
He could, but he'd have to make that exactly 1,000 square feet.
No, but could he have 1,000 square foot first floor and then a 500 square feet in a second floor?
Once he's outside the 75-foot mark. He can only add that additional 500 square feet on once he's outside that 75
But
foot.
I guess what you're saying then is it's total square footage, not footprint.
Yes,
Okay.
How about
But
if
he
we
could
put
have
it,
it in a basement.
yes, he can have that, and it doesn't count
The
against it.
basement doesn't count.
if you put a 12 pitch roof on, you could have upstairs area.
Well, he's restricted from up to the
25 feet.
75-foot mark, he's restricted to 20 feet, and then once he gets past that 75-foot mark, he can have 25 feet
Okay,
in
so
height.
it'll be 20.
You can have what?
25 feet in height?
No.
Total building height can only be 25 feet.
Right, but that would still give him some space in a second floor.
Yes, I just don't know if he can get that in that 1,000 square feet at the 20 feet, and then to have living space above. I don't know if he could do that.
And can he do a tear down and rebuild,
Yeah,
close
that's
to
what
the
he's,
water?
that's what he's doing, yeah.
But
As
close
long
to,
as he moves it back to the greatest practical extent.
So you can't tear
So
down the
where is-
original camp?
He
A
can't,
question
yeah,
from
he's gotta
You can't
Mr.
and build on the
Wilson,
original campsite?
He can
Where is
build
the
on-
wetland? Is it to the north or is it to the east?
they're not showing wetlands on this map that they gave you.
It should show the wetlands on this map.
It's east.
All right, I got Branch Pond, is that north, south, east, or west? And then I've got Wilson's Way, which direction's that on this map?
Wilson Way basically runs north-south.
It runs north.
Branch,
Okay.
Branch Pond is on the west side and Wilson Way is on the east side of that property.
Okay, so where exactly is the wetlands?
It's on the east side of the lot. It's in the southeast corner of that lot,
Then
southeast region.
And it's got a
why
stream
can't
in
you
there.
just move the building north then?
But, okay, yeah, if you moved it north away from the 6-foot setback that I'm looking for, because of the configuration of the shoreline, it pushes you east. It pushes you east because there's a jut inward of the shoreline on the north part of that lot on the shore. So anytime you go north, it shows you east. To,
You see what he's saying? Get in?
Yeah.
it's not a straight shoreline. There's a jut in on the north end. So anytime you go north, it pushes you east.
Yeah, but you could still build there, that's the point, right? You've got where your new septic tank is, you locate that building right over there, and then you don't have any setback requirements.
I would have to, my issue is I'd have to fill wetlands.
Well,
Because there's a stream going through the property.
It-
well, if he gets the right permits, he can do it, right? That's what everybody on lakefront property does. You don't want to spend the money to get the wetlands study, then that's your, look, I'm gonna go back to my first 3 questions. You have to come in here and show us 4 things. That the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless the variance is granted. That the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstance of the property, not the general conditions of the neighborhood. You have to show us that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And I'm thinking that if we grant this variance, you're 6 feet away from your neighbor, and they're not liking it. And hardship is not the result of action taken by you or prior owners. And I got a feeling you can't even come close to that because you're doing a rebuild, and you're asking to encroach upon your neighbors. Do you want to comment on how you meet these criteria?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the current, I'm going to start with the last one. The hardship on the neighbors, the current camp is 11 feet from the neighbor. It already encroaches in the 25 feet. So if there's a hardship at 11 feet closer to his camp, it's going to help him to be 6 feet away, further away from his camp. His camp is closer, very close to the water. So it does not cause any hardship to the neighbor. It actually improves, it will take away any kind of blocking his view, because my camp is basically right in his field of view and he looks at the water to his right. So I feel it's going to help the neighbor. It's going to take the camp right on from underneath his nose. The current is 11 feet. I'm asking for 6 further back where it won't be in his line of sight.
All right, you want to
It will
answer?
not adversely, it won't impair the neighborhood. This existing camp, I know it's salvageable, but I'm looking to increase the property value there by building something new. It's going to increase the property value, the tax base. It's going to look good. It's not going to look like a 1930s cabin. It will look like it should. It'll be removed from the waterway. It won't look like it's sitting around the lake. Aesthetically, it's going to be much nicer than the existing camp. The need to the site is caused by I'll say the wetlands on the east side and the jut in the shoreline on the west side. It's a unique part of that property that shows me the wetlands. If it wasn't for that, if we could average the shoreline or something along those lines, then I wouldn't be here. I would basically just built it. But because of the configuration of this lot, it's pushing me into wetlands. And I don't think there's any guarantee I can even fill wetlands. So with that, the last one is the economics. Square foot's worth dollars, guys. And so it's worth it for me and it's worth it on the tax base. And that's what I'm looking for, to maximize the value of what my investment is up there. For myself and my family for retirement and whatever comes next.
Well, that's not the way the ordinance is written, unfortunately. It doesn't say that you need to maximize your value. It says you need to get a fair economic return, or any economic.
I want to hear from the neighbor. Can you state your name and come up to the podium and tell us your concerns? All right.
Yes, my name is Ken Rushton. I own the lot with Mr. Bob Simcoe over here. His setback, yes, it does go a little further behind where our camp is.
Is your camp on, I'm looking at this map, are you on
Right.
this side or this side?
That side.
This, the right side?
Yep,
So he's coming closer to your camp.
right. Our camp, the front of his new camp that he's got building is going to be just off the back edge of our camp. There is a boat dock, a ramp that goes down to the water. It's been there for several years. And, yeah, just privacy is the main reason we don't want it that close. We're wondering why he can't go. He's got a parking lot that's shown on his map there and stuff like that. Why can't he move it further in a little bit further? I mean, I'm not opposed to less than 25 feet, but 6 feet we think's extreme.
All right. Does he echo your comments too?
Yes.
And your name is?
My name is Bob Simcoe. I'm
See-
co-owners with,
So you don't want us granting this variance because it's too close?
yes.
Look, I'm ready to deal with this thing. But John, look, typically when people don't complain, we grant these all the time. But we got a complainer, and he's got a legitimate complaint. And the criteria that we've asked you to talk about, you have not met. I understand you want to build it in the location you want, and I understand it'll make it beautiful, and it'll be a wonderful place, and you'll have a nice family, but you can't do it. We got setback requirements, and we get opposition, and I just can't find. I'm gonna make proposals that we find that this land can yield a reasonable return without the variance. I'm gonna say that there's nothing unique about this property. It's a typical lakefront lot that we deal with on a routine basis, and you got some configuration issues like everybody else, and you need to go talk to DEP. I'm gonna find that the grant of the variance will alter the essential character of the neighborhood because you're too close to your neighbor. And finally, the hardship is not created by you, it is created by you. You wanna tear down and build, and I understand why. Well, I mean, we have every landowner up there, and there's all these little camps that are from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and we have people buying them and they want to put bigger places on. And frankly, that's why we have setbacks. So people aren't building monstrosities and that are encroach on the neighbors. So I'm moving that we make those findings and deny the application. I would suggest that you, and if you want to make a motion, I'll make a motion that make those findings and deny the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Now, that doesn't mean that if you go to DEP and they give you a variance or whatever they give, and you have a few feet, you can't come back here and your neighbors come in and say, geez, 20 feet's okay. But right now, what you're proposing, we can't even approach. You have anything else you'd like to do?
No, sir.
All right.
Just, just for Mr. Rushton and Mr. Simcoe, I appreciate your comments, guys. I don't understand it totally, why you'd want that existing camp right on the water in front of you, 11 feet off the property line, but
They've offered to work with you.
it's your opinion.
They've offered to work
You
with
can
you in the
say.
future, a little different design. I'm gonna say this one is done, and I wanna go on to Walmart.
Okay. Thank you.
We look forward to you coming back when you've got a plan that we can actually help you with.
Thank you.
And just as a quick comment, we would have no problem with a little bit of an agreement.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
we get these requests, we have to apply the law, and this one doesn't fit yet.
And we're good with that.
And I hope he finds a plan, design, and a build that he can do, and you guys, and if we need to do a variance, then we,
All right. Thank you very
but a
much.
little dab will do you.
You
This is-
can't-
I just don't want to cause any hard feelings with neighbors,
Yeah.
but I also don't want to be walked on and you guys are protecting us. Thank you very much.
Laura, you can't get a variance on 1,000 square feet in a 75-foot zone?
No. DEP won't give them,
No.
period.
Is that a DEP rule?
That's a DEP rules. Anything within that's old, within the 75-foot setback, DEP controls. And we're not given, that's why I asked the first thing.
Yeah.
Has DEP been contacted? Because we're not gonna give up our home rule because we violate some DEP policy.
May we be excused?
We're done with you.
Thank you.
All right, the next one we're gonna do is Walmart's request for a variance, and I wanna, there seems to be a battle brewing. Larry,
Yes,
your response to submissions talks about them not giving information. Are you still pushing that?
yes, and I've just passed out, and I have,
And before, the answer I needed was yes.
yes.
Now, I see a gentleman on the screen that I think I've seen before.
That's correct. How are you, sir?
Good, how you been?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome back. You're in New Jersey.
Actually, I'm on the road. I'm in Virginia
Oh,
right
hey, last time
We
we saw
had-
you in New Jersey.
now. Well, that's where my office is. That's correct. That's also where I live. But we had a family wedding this weekend in Southern Virginia. So I'm on my way back home. So I stopped in this particular hotel. So I'm speaking to you from a hotel lobby.
Awesome. You're Bruce.
I am Bruce Stavitsky, yes.
And remember, I butchered your name, last name. Can I call you just Bruce?
Oh, yes, please.
All right,
That's
thank
fine.
you. All right, listen, Bruce, you're here, we've got your, just for the record, we have your application for a for a tax abatement. And
Yes.
then Larry submitted a thing dated 8/13. Have you seen that?
8/13, yes, and we responded to that.
Okay,
On September 7th, I think it was.
okay. Did they respond and give you the information you needed, Larry? No?
No, they just explained why the information was not provided.
All right, do you agree with that, Bruce?
We did not provide the information that Larry is seeking for a variety of reasons. One, it's not current Maine state assessment law. Two, the information that he requested is extremely overly broad. Walmart has 5,000 stores in the United States. And to seek to have all of the data concerning all the Walmart stores in the United States of America is just objectionable, for one thing. Secondly, the subject property is not a leased store, it's an owned store. So the amount of products or goods that they sell annually has no relevance whatsoever to the value of real estate. In fact, I cite in my response to Larry's further demand for information on the 706 that Maine state law says that the income approach to value creates a value estimate for income producing property based on the anticipated income
Well,
from that property.
Bruce,
Then
let
it
me
goes
stop-
on
Let me stop right
further
there.
dis-
Hang on. Are you using, what approach is the city taking?
For valuation, all three,
Name them.
cost, market, and income.
And which approach does Walmart take, Bruce?
I believe our appraiser has looked at all three approaches: income, sales comparison, and cost. I think that that income and the sales comparison approach to value are most pertinent here. When I say income, I refer to rental income
Hang on,
for
Bruce. Hang
comparable
on, hang on.
properties.
Hang on. You want sales information, right, Larry?
Gross sales of the store, and I can explain.
Just
why.
this store.
And I can explain.
I don't want your explanation. And why do you say that the income information from this store should not be provided to the city?
Because it's confidential business information, it's proprietary. The amount of revenue that the company generates as a result of their business at that location does not relate at all to the value of the real estate. It
Hang
has
on,
nothing to
Bruce,
do with
hang
it.
on, hang on. Does that, all right, his answer is proprietary, I can understand. They don't want you to know what they're selling, numbers. But do you need this information for the income approach?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes,
And why do you need it?
because it gives, and the sheet I just handed out
Mhm.
has, why is having gross sales important at the top. Bruce, did you get this in the email I sent tonight?
I did, Larry. I didn't really have the chance to digest it, but it's here on my phone. I can take a look at it.
Here's what I want to do. Look, you guys got a discovery dispute, and we're here to do an abatement on a very large property, and you're asking for a substantial abatement from 20 to 10 million, and Larry's asked for income information, and I can understand why you might not want to give it. However, it's one of the approaches that assessors actually use. So here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to give Larry that information, and he will keep it confidential, okay? And I want it to be shared, but not to be made public. And you two work out a method to do that, so that you can present without saying numbers, because I'm gonna redo this. And do you need any other information, Larry?
Lease information.
Bruce, can you give him lease information?
Okay, I have a question,
Yep.
sir, and that is in regard to the gross sales information. You're referring to this particular store,
This
correct?
store only.
This store
store only.
Okay.
And it can be
Okay,
kept
and-
between you two, proprietary, by agreement. Larry will not share it. He will keep it confidential in a file and not be made public.
Actually, my
Okay.
request was not just for this store.
No, listen, Larry, we're not gonna go other stores. It just ain't gonna happen, all right? It's this store and this store only. You're gonna get this store. I get his point. Walmart's huge and everyone can become a stockholder and you can figure out what they're selling. But this store only, but it's gonna be kept private, and I understand the need for that. But I'd like to share that information with the city so that he can calculate his approach, and you can leave the number off any submissions, both of you. But I'd like it to be able to, we can have a good debate on whether the income approach is a feasible means for us to evaluate your property, okay?
Yes, may I say something else?
Absolutely, Bruce.
So I will have to go back to Walmart. I don't have, first of all, I don't even have the sales, gross sales. So I have to go back to Walmart to get their permission to disclose them to me. And then I also have to get Walmart's consent or permission to say that, okay, we agree to turn them over, but only pursuant to a confidentiality agreement, which the assessor will sign and which I would sign as Walmart's representative. So I want that to be understood by the assessor.
Absolutely. But
yeah.
keep in mind, income approach is a viable means of assessing the value of a property of this size. And playing hide the weenie, so to speak, and not, we sell a lot, but we're not gonna tell you. I can understand why you would want sales numbers out from a business perspective.
Yes, but I also want to say, sir, that in terms of even how Maine state law addresses the issue of valuation of property pursuant to the income approach, they talk about rent. They don't talk about gross revenue or gross sales.
Do you agree with that, Larry?
And there's no case law in the state that says, okay,
Should you be getting gross sales or should you be getting rent information?
Both.
rent,
Gross sales.
rent.
Wait. I want to hear from both. Larry, why do you need gross sales? You just,
Yeah, it's on this sheet here.
yep.
Income to the property, rent, and income of the going concern, that occupies the property, revenues of the business, the gross income, are very different types of historic information.
Yeah.
The assessor and the appraiser needs to do a market analysis of the subject property. Appraisers should request and ideally receive the detailed retail store financial statements. Having gross sales from Walmart is very important. Sales per square foot can be calculated. The proper level of rent as a percentage of sales can be calculated. And if the total yearly sales of goods at this location here in Ellsworth are good and successful compared to previous years, it would indicate the location and improvements are still good as well if the business is successful. On the other hand, if total sales of goods are much weaker than previous years, and especially if sales are showing a trend downwards, it may indicate the store may no longer be successful and the owner may be considering a changing location, building elsewhere, and selling the property as a dark store. And if I saw that, I would appraise the property, assess the property as a dark store.
Bruce, what do you think on that argument?
Okay, this is what I would like to say. First of all, the sheet that Larry is reading from, he cites no authority. There's no statutory authority listed there. There's no case law authority cited there. He's just saying this because he believes it to be true. Again, the main state assessment manual, the Department of Revenue, says that the income approach is valid, but it's rental income that they're talking about. They're not talking about sales of a business or from a business. Again, this is on PT 103, Valuation of Real Estate, State of Maine Revenue Services, revised May of 2020. Anticipated income is primarily based upon the rental income for rental properties, Valuation of Real Estate, PT 103. Under this approach, the assessor or appraiser assigns a rental rate based on the local market and multiplies the rent by the square footage to arrive at the potential gross income. Next, the assessor must analyze market data to estimate the vacancy and collection loss, which is deducted from the potential gross income to arrive at effective gross income. Operating expenses are then deducted from the effective gross to arrive at the net operating income. To arrive at a value, the net income is then divided by the capitalization rate. The income capitalization rate does not consider the income derived from gross sales to consumers, but the potential income attributable to the real estate. And there is a case that is cited from Massachusetts, for example, that says, it's a neighboring state, right, or nearby state, that a business income itself cannot normally be considered as a controlling or even relevant factor because it is the property and not the business that must be valued. By Larry's request for business income, he's attempting to value the business, not the real estate. So that's why it's not relevant.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. I think I'm gonna throw my ideas out. We got a bona fide dispute here. Larry's, I'm reading the requests. You're asking for all gross sales for each leased stores and all stores in Maine. I mean, if this was a civil lawsuit, you're right to object. This concerns this store only. Walmart leases some properties, perhaps not Maine. Bruce and Larry, I'm gonna ask you both to get some legal authority for us to order Walmart on this store only to turn over income information.
I have it in the information I provided.
I got that, but I want a legal memo from your attorney.
Question?
Yeah.
Are you asking just for one fiscal year or on sales data?
I'm asking for previous years as well,
How many years?
3 years.
3 years is what you want?
Yeah.
Okay,
But this store only.
just around, right.
I would like for you guys to take a couple of weeks to get us some legal authority to decide this issue, because I think it's important that Walmart only give the city what it's legally entitled to. I think the city should be legally entitled to some stuff, but I want, because if we ask them to give this information, and they don't, or they do, and we were wrong, I want it to be reviewed by the, up above, that why and how we made the decision we made. We can direct the appellant to give more information, we're bored. They come here asking for financial relief from the city of Ellsworth. Meanwhile, the city can ask for information so they can do their job in assessing this thing. So I'd like to come back 3 or 4 weeks from now. Bruce, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Can you two put your heads together and come up with legal memos and submit them to the board? And then what we'll do is we'll adjourn a meeting just like this again. We'll have advance, so we've all read it, and we'll make a decision. And can you prepare your response, Bruce, so that if we order it, that Larry has it, but Larry agrees to hold it as proprietary, but if we say no, you can't have it, Larry sends it back to you in the same envelope you sent. Is that fair to you?
Okay. Right, the only thing is, like I said.
You
if
need
the board
Walmart's
decide-
approval.
Yes,
All right, assuming Walmart gives approval, we got no problem. If Walmart will not give approval, and this information is not relevant to the assessment, that could be the issue, the answer. You're not entitled to it. That's why I want legal memos. Then they're right, and you go forward with your other methods.
What about the other methods, Larry? What other 2 methods did you use?
The cost approach and the market sales approach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's,
Talk about any of those tonight?
I don't want to, because all 3 are germane to an overall board assessment. You can't do 2 and then make a decision. Walmart would appeal that. All 3 methods must be, all methods have to be heard by the board, because that's what our job is, to make a determination based on hearing cost, sales approach, and income approach. And there's another one, right? The 4th one is what?
No, that's 3.
Those 3. And then we can pick and choose which one we think is the most valid for this circumstance. Doing 2 tonight, maybe 1 later, won't help us. I want the record clean, because this is a significant financial consideration to both Walmart and the city. So we need our record right.
Does Bruce have any other questions for Larry on the other 2 methods, or disagreement on the other 2 methods that we need to resolve tonight? So we're not coming back the 3rd time?
Well, that's
The
what
fourth
we'll
thing.
be reviewing.
You 2 guys seem to get along fairly well. It's just Walmart, as a corporation, doesn't want to give certain information.
I'm everywhere Bruce is, except tonight in Virginia. We hang out all the time.
Okay, well, do you see where I'm going? I want to know legally, can we order Walmart to give this so we can have all 3 assessment methods brought?
You want our city attorney's decision on.
I want them to write a memo, because they're going to be, look, if we make a decision that's wrong and it's appealed, I want the record to show why we did what we did.
Yeah.
Every one of these cases that come forward can end up in the law court.
I did provide the email memo from the Maine Municipal Association Legal Services Director saying that this was
Well, if
required.
that's what they cite us to, and you can either give simultaneous submissions, or he can submit and you can respond and then you can reply, I don't care how you do it. All right,
Yep.
the burden is on, it would seem to me, Walmart to give information unless they're legally not obligated. So Bruce, enlighten us with a memo, Bruce, and then Larry will respond to it, and then you can reply.
when is the memo due? When do I need
Well,
to
if we
submit
could
it
be
to the
back here
board
in a
until
month, that would be great. Can you do it in 2 weeks?
2 weeks from now?
Yeah, if you
Okay,
need
so
more
that would
time,
be the,
listen, if you need more time, you just call Lori and we'll reschedule. I mean, your appeal is in, it's procedurally, it's just not ready.
Can we shoot for
Right.
next month's meeting?
Well,
that's
we'll do
regular?
it, you guys put your heads together and tell us when you want to exchange things.
All
And
right,
let Lori know, and Lori will send us out notices when we're gonna meet.
Well, what if Walmart
Okay.
refuses to give that information, and how does Larry evaluate a business on how?
If the memos come in and the law says Walmart has to provide that information and they don't, then there's the provisions that say they forfeit their appeal. But if the memos come in and it's not clear as to what the law is, and we decide that Larry's not entitled to that information, we're gonna make that determination, then Walmart can go forward on other methods.
So how do you do it then, Larry? Do you look at evaluations, the revenues of other businesses in the area?
yeah, and that's what I'm doing now. I've appraised Walmart's, the property up there, not because it's Walmart, but because it is a building with 200,000 square feet, similar to the Main Coast Mall that has close to that square footage. You may recall that I think we have 18 million on the Main Coast Mall.
Which was half empty.
And we have 20 million on Walmart. So I've appraised it just like every other property in town, using the cost approach and the market information and the income information that I have. But what they're saying is that to get a lower value, it should be assessed as a dark store, as if they're no longer there, and a secondary user would come in who wouldn't use all the amenities that the building and the property has that Walmart needs. And there'd be costs to rent that out to someone else and possibly renovate it into, perhaps even divide it up into spaces.
So if you have that sales information, what you really need then is the comparative sales information from year to year then. Because you're not gonna be able to figure what the property's worth based on the net gross sales.
No, what it does, it allows one to determine if the business is going to close.
Right, that's what I said.
In the near future.
I don't
21 and
see-
3 years.
I hope it's not closed, I go there all the time.
I would hope not either. No one wants to see any business close. They
However,
provide jobs to the community, for one thing.
it's a legitimate method to evaluate the property, real estate. Let's solve this discovery dispute the legal way and either get the information or not, and we'll come back and you guys dictate when we come back. Okay?
Yeah,
Please work with
Okay.
Lori. We're available most Mondays. We can get a quorum. Be nice if we did it on Wednesday, because then there's wide open after. But
I'll email you, Bruce.
Yes, Larry, are you going to be in the office tomorrow? Because I think we could talk tomorrow, just to try to figure some things out if you're available, or Wednesday.
I'm here.
Okay, that's good. I'll try to call you tomorrow. Probably the afternoon works best for me.
Sure.
And I'll try to reach out to you 3, 4 o'clock. Hopefully that's okay.
That's fine.
If not, Wednesday.
Bruce, thank you. Nice to see you. I hope this progresses.
Thank you all. You take care.
I'm
Bye.
motion we adjourn. All in favor, all opposed. We're out of here.
Now, is that off?